Hey, how's it going, guys? Captain Kuba here, and today I'm gonna do things a little bit differently. I'm not here with a single theory video or a lore video. Instead, I asked you guys for your most requested questions about God of War, and then I'm just gonna answer them here. I'm gonna read them aloud and then answer them. Because these questions are very simple and have a very simple answer that I don't want to bother you with for a 1 minute long video and then, alright, thanks for watching, guys. That'll be it. So this video is going to be a little bit longer. Hopefully your questions will be picked up. There were a few questions that I didn't pick up because I didn't think they were serious enough. They were just joking. And other ones because they get repeated a lot, so I didn't cover them. But thank you so much, guys, for submitting all of your questions. If you guys like these types of videos, definitely let me know as I can do more of these. They're very fun. So with that said, let's begin. Okay, the first question comes from Noah Williamson. Sorry if I mispronounced that. He says, when Kratos kills Zeus, we see the chains fall from his wrist. Does this have any bigger implications, like being freed from a bond? I always thought the same thing. We see Ares searing the chains to his arms in God of War 1. And at the end of God of War 3, we see the chains falling from his wrist. I always took this to mean that his servitude to Ares and the gods of Olympus was finally over, and the chains symbolically just left him. Now, God of War doesn't really contradict this scene, but it does undermine it a little bit, because in the novel it says that after Kratos woke up, realizing that the gods would never allow him to kill himself, he picked up the blades to spite them. So it does undermine it a little bit, but it doesn't contradict it. The next question comes from Lol Gamer. Sorry if I mispronounced that again. He asked, if all the giants come back to life in Ragnarok, does that mean Faye will too? I do think the giants will come back to life because we see a lot of murals in Midgard and in all the realms of the giants fighting in the Ragnarok battle. However, I'm not too sure about Faye. I think Faye will remain in the light of Alfheim. We might see her if Kratos and Atreus go back in time to the past, obviously. We might see her when she was younger, but I do not think we will see her in the Ragnarok battle. Okay, so I got two questions from Pushkar Shetty. He asks, hey, do you think Freya actually needed the heart of the Bridgekeeper to cure Atreus, or were there some other intentions behind it? I never doubted Freya when she asked Kratos to go look for the heart of the Bridgekeeper. In storytelling, this is called a MacGuffin. It's an item that doesn't really have any importance to the story or the lore of the series. It's just used to move the plot forward. And even lore-wise, Freya at that time wasn't really angry with Kratos or Atreus. They were still friends. So she was genuinely trying to help Atreus. His other question is, since everyone in the game knows about Ragnarok and knows what's going to happen and who are all involved, why does no one ever mention Loki? Well, slight correction there, I don't think everybody knows who's going to be in Ragnarok. They know it's going to happen, but, for example, Freya mentions that she's kind of worried about Ragnarok. She wishes it wouldn't happen, but she doesn't give any evidence that she knows who's going to be in it or who's gonna die by who. The only ones who know that is the giants and Odin, but Odin is because he collects prophecies and whatnot. Now, the reason no one ever mentions Loki is because Loki's not mentioned in the murals by the giants. I've seen all of the murals, and Loki is in none of them, nor Kratos. That's because they're an important part of Ragnarok, and the giants wouldn't want to reveal that yet. Okay, so the next question comes from Sankar Havekshik. In God of War 4, we see Atreus saying that he's not as powerful as Kratos, his father. My question is, will Atreus be capable of destroying a powerful god just like Kratos did? Will he be the successor of his father, the God of War? Is Kratos more powerful than Freya? I think there's two questions there. I don't think Atreus will be, when it comes to actual physical strength, will be more powerful than Kratos, but I do think he's going to be more magically inclined. He's going to be able to shapeshift. He knows, he has great capabilities to learn languages. He's more in tune with spirit world rather than his father. His father can lift a building, but Atreus can't. But that doesn't mean he's not powerful. He's going to be more magically powerful. Is Kratos more powerful than Freya? I'm not too sure about that. I feel like they're gonna be somewhat even. Freya is very powerful though. If she manages to get the spirit, her fighting spirit, it's gonna be a hell of a fight. Pinda asks, at the end of God of War 3, Kratos decides to travel somewhere. Pretty sure he didn't have the will to move on because the nightmares and Athena was still going to chase him. He could have easily just let himself die, so why did he decide to live? Well, this is covered in the God of War novel. it says that Kratos woke up realizing that the gods cursed him to never be able to kill himself by his own hands. So he cannot let himself die. We don't know if he's immortal. We're not too sure about that. Some sources say he is, but at least according to the novel, he cannot kill himself. Alright, so the next question comes from Dean O'Driscoll. This is the question that inspired me to do this video, because it's got a pretty short answer, but it's important nonetheless. He asks, where did literally all of Kratos' weapons from God of War go when he went into Norse mythology? Like, he had tons of stuff in God of War 3, but where did it go? It's fairly simple. At the end, during the fight with Zeus, Zeus hit him with a thunderbolt, I believe, and all of his weapons were destroyed. This has been confirmed by Bruno Velasquez and people at Santa Monica Studios. All of the weapons, the Nemean cestus, the head of Helios, the wings, they were all destroyed in the battle with Zeus. He was only left with the Blades of Exile, and then he dropped them. And then he woke up, according to the novel, he woke up and then picked up the Blades of Chaos, because they had been following him, but that's another topic for another day. Okay, so that one dude asks, does Mimir know Atreus is Loki? He knows he's a god, but does he know he's Loki in particular? I don't think that has been confirmed in God of War 4 yet. I would have to play the game again and just listen to all the dialogue, but I don't think Mimir recognizes Atreus as being Loki. Like he said, he does know he's a god, and he also knows he's the son of Faye, but I don't think he has made that connection yet. With that said though, Corey Barlog has said that Mimir knows a lot more than he's letting on. Like, he knows a lot more. And I think it's because Faye told him the future, and he does know deep down that Atreus is Loki, but he can't say that for some reason yet. Okay, next we have Credo. He asks, what exactly is the Island of Creation? What about the time freeze status it is under? I'm not sure about the second part of the question, but the Island of Creation is where all life in the Greek realm began. I know it's located at the edge of the world, and it takes about 6 days riding a Pegasus to get there. But that's all. It's where creation itself started. Now, the Steeds of Time, the horses you move in God of War 2, were created by Kronos as a gift to the Sisters of Fate, because Kronos was afraid he was going to lose the Great War, so he pretty much bribed them. He made the horses for them. Okay, so next is Elijah. He asked, will we see the old God of War weapons like COH and the NC, albeit in the form of fragments, which Brock and Sindri might be able to restore or integrate into the Leviathan Access rune? Also, what happened to Atlas at the end of God of War 3? First of all, I'm really bad when it comes to abbreviations. I would have to go back and look at the names for the weapons in God of War, but I'm not sure what this means. I think this means the Nemean cestus. Again, that's not something I can say that we will definitely see in the next game, but I do think it would be cool if... I do believe Kratos and Atreus will go to Greece in the next game. That's just my theory, it hasn't been confirmed yet, but it would be cool if they come back with Greek items, and then Brock and Sindri can use them to make weapons, or as you say, runes. It would be really, really cool. And you also ask, what happened to Atlas after the events of God of War 3? Lore-wise, I have to make a video on that. We have to say that he's still holding the Greek realm, at least. But the God of War 2 novel says something otherwise, but I need to make a video about that, because that's a really interesting topic. Okay, so the next question comes from Snyderman. Will we ever see a cameo from the ship captain again? I think he's someone Kratos needs to make peace with. So yeah, the ship captain has been in the series since the very beginning. Even in God of War 4, we pick up a note by one of his crewmates that says, oh, the ship captain is in the belly of the beast. I obtained the key and I traveled to a new land and my ship crashed. So it's one of the ships we see in the Lake of Nine. It's very interesting. Will we ever see him again? I think we will in some form. It's a running gag at this point in the series, and I think we will at some point. And it is interesting seeing how this new Kratos would react at seeing that old not kind of an enemy. He was no one to Kratos. Like, he just killed him so easily. But it would be fun to see the new Kratos, Kratos' reaction at seeing the ship captain again. Marcus Courtney says, what type of abilities do you think Atreus will develop due to him being part god and part giant? Well, he has teased that he's going to be able to shapeshift. He can communicate with animals. Those are the main ones, I think. He can also see the future a little bit, because at the end of God of War 4, we see that he has a vision of Thor coming to their house. So that's going to be one of his abilities, foresight, much like all of the other giants. So he's going to be a pretty powerful character. Okay, so the next question comes from Elo Lads. He asks, why is Credo so uniquely more powerful than the other gods? Well, I mean, because of plot, man. He has to eventually overcome the challenges and come out as victorious. I don't think there's an actual reason within the lore of that. I guess God of War 3 is the one that came the closest. It's because when he opened Pandora's box, he had the power of hope within him all that time. So, a power that the gods did not have. But don't even get me started on the whole power of hope thing. Okay, the next question comes from Jay Radcliffe. He asks, do you think the Blade of Olympus will make another appearance? I really don't know. There's no evidence or foreshadowing that it will make an appearance. I would want it to, because it was one of those weapons that wasn't really explored in the gameplay as much. You picked it up at the end of God of War 2, and then you could use it in the game plus, and you can only level it up twice, I believe, and that was it. Like it would be an awesome weapon to wield, and it's certainly powerful, capable of killing any gods. But will it return? I really don't know. I don't know. I hope it does. Okay, the next question comes from FITC2OP. He asked, what happened to the arms of Sparta after the end of God of War Goes to Sparta? P.S. I know that Kratos kept the arms of Sparta next to Deimos' grave. Forgive the spelling here. But my question is, are they still there? I would assume so. Like, there's not much I can say about that. That's the last thing we know of. There's no evidence that anyone else took them. So yeah, I would say that they're still there. The next question comes from Ayman Zibar. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Does Kratos still misses his old wife and daughter? That's something that is hard for me to answer because I'm not Kratos. And the novel doesn't say, oh, and Kratos misses his old family. I would assume that he does deep down, but he has moved on. He has Atreus now. He had Faye and now he has Atreus. Okay, Flexar asks, do you think Atreus secretly got help fighting the Dark Elves while Credo was in the Light of Alfheim? Well, I forget the guy's name, but a game journalist went to Santa Monica Studios, and someone at the studios told him that inside the Leviathan axe, there's the spirit of Kratos' past. Most likely it's Faye, because it's the previous owner of the axe. So when you ask me if Atreus received any help during the fight with the Dark Elves, I would say yes, because his mother's spirit was in the axe. It couldn't return to him, but I guess the axe became more powerful or something. I don't know if you're asking in terms of the axe itself or like someone else. The novel doesn't say that. The novel only says that he spent like 3 days and I think 3 or 4 days outside, and then he went and got his father. So no actual physical help, but Faye might have helped him through the axe. Okay, Jur7575 asks, what happened to the world when Magni died? Since we know when you kill a god, something happens. The same goes with Balder. I think you're referring to Ares blowing up, Athena blowing up, and Zeus blowing up, and Thanatos. So bottom line, all of the Greek gods end up blowing up for some reason. That's not the case with the Norse gods, apparently. I should say that Hermes released a plague as well. I don't really think anything happened. With Balder, Fimbulwinter started. So it's not that Balder caused it, it's that he signals the start of Fimbulwinter. So I'm guessing that Norse gods don't have that effect on nature as the Greek gods do. Okay, so we have a really good question by Cinder Briefs. In Chains of Olympus, did Elysium end up getting destroyed because Kratos killed Persephone, or is it still there just without a ruler? This is a really good question because if we respect Chains of Olympus, the fields of Elysium are still there. That's simply how it is. Because how did it go? If Kratos could remain with his daughter, but Atlas would destroy the world above, and also the fields of Elysium. So Kratos sacrificed his happiness with his daughter so that his daughter may live. So yeah, if we respect Chains of Olympus' story, which is a really good one, by the way, we have to say that the fields of Elysium are still there, and that means that Calliope is still alive. So, and that makes me really happy. Alright, so Ankit Bardwaja asks, when the Blades of Chaos was being made, did Hephaestus use a small part of all the primordial being known as Chaos? Is that why it's called the Blades of Chaos? And also, are the giants from Midgard the same as the giants? Is the giants' birth from Gaia? The Titanomachy, you mean? Okay, so the first question, there's no indications that the Blades of Chaos was made from the primordial being of Chaos. It would be cool if they do a prequel game. I've always said this, I would love a game that just lets you control Ares during the Great War or something, and the creation of the Blades of Chaos. Like, that would be really cool, and it would be cool if the Blades of Chaos were actually made from the Chaos being. Like, that would be really cool. We do know that they have eternal fire that can even burn in Helheim, the place where nothing can burn. So we know they're powerful, but we don't know how exactly Hephaestus made them. Are the giants from Midgard the same as the giants birthed from Gaia? No, there's no evidence of that. Like, these are two different realms we're talking about. Yes, they do take place in the same planet, but you know what, I'm not even going to talk about that. That is confusing. We're just going to have to wait until Fallen God comes out to know what the actual planet of God of War looks like. But no, the giants from Norse mythology are not the same as the titans from Greek mythology. Okay, Raimegu asks, where is Kratos' first wife? What happened to the Afterlife Gardens and Calliope after God of War 3? Does Kratos consider Mimir's to be his best friend? I guess Mimir is the closest thing he's gotten to a best friend. I would argue for the Spartan, the last Spartan in God of War 2. But Mimir is up there as well. I already answered what happened to the Afterlife and the Elysium fields already. Now, he has a very interesting question. Where is Kratos' first wife? This is something that I've always wondered, and I honestly don't have an answer, but what the game seemed to imply is very dark. Now, I'm gonna read for you. I looked it up because I wasn't sure what the note said exactly, but I know you can pick up a note in God of War 3 in the Underworld. Where is it? Okay, here it is. Okay. That says, a note written by a young soul. The fires, the people screaming. I was so scared. Why didn't Father protect us? The judges say I have to go now to Elysium, and that it will be nice there. I miss my family. This is clearly a note left by Calliope while waiting for the judge's decision on where her soul was going to go. She of course went to the fields of Elysium because she was a kid, I guess. But it doesn't say what happened to Kratos' wife. There's not a note written by her in Hell and in Hades, but it is implied that she did not make it to the fields of Elysium because we don't see her there in Chains of Olympus. So, is it possible that she's still in Hades? It is very dark and a very interesting question, but we simply do not know at the moment. FA1Ref asks, don't you think that when Kratos released the power of hope to mankind by stabbing himself with the blade of Olympus, he ascended to a higher place like Athena? I get your reasoning because he did something selfless. He gave the power of hope back to humans. I can see that. I can see your reasoning, but there's no evidence that that happened because the novel doesn't say that, and the novel takes place. What we get in the novel takes place after God of War 3. The novel only says that he woke up realizing that the gods would never allow him to kill himself. That's all it says. It doesn't say that he ascended to the higher plane of existence or anything like that. So sadly, there's no evidence for that, but it's a cool thought nonetheless. Okay, so Games Love has a pretty funny question. Is it possible that Kratos had a child from that lady he banged in God of War 3? He's referring to Aphrodite. I mean, it's very possible they didn't use condoms back then. But I think story-wise, it would be very stupid if all of a sudden Santa Monica's like, oh, this is Kratos' third child. It's from Aphrodite. Like, Aphrodite doesn't really play that big of a role in God of War 3. She's just there if you want to, you know. That's all. Like, that's all she provides story-wise. I really don't think he had a kid with her. Ryu Thompson says, are the Fates dead since Kratos went back in time? I believe Emanuel Mojica, which is the guy who went to Santa Monica Studios and Corey showed him the studio and all that, I believe Corey told him that Clotho is dead, but what are their names? Atropos and Lachesis are still trapped in time. Because Kratos actually didn't kill them. He pushed them through a mirror and then he broke the mirror, but they're technically stuck in the past, I believe. Okay, so Yusuf Ben Rabia asked, why did Kratos not use the Hermes boots in God of War 2018? So you can actually check on this video if you want to know more about the boots. But for those of you who don't know, the boots of Hermes were actually discovered in the E3 2016 demo of the game. But once you go into the house in the final game, you don't see the boots anywhere. So there's a theory going on out there that it's possible that the boots were going to be used in the gameplay originally, but then Corey or someone on the team decided it would not have been a good idea gameplay wise, so they got rid of them. Or it could have just been a cool Easter egg to let you know that this was the actual Kratos from God of War 3, not another timeline Kratos or anything like that. But at this moment, he does not have the boots of Hermes. Jackie Robinson says, why would he leave the Blade of Olympus knowing that Athena could come and get it as she has physical form even though she's dead? Yeah, we do see Athena wield the Blade of Olympus. Not wield it, she gets that she's able to interact with physical objects. I think it's what you're trying to tell me. And I know that. Why would Kratos leave it? I honestly don't know. Maybe this is a possibility. The Blade of Olympus is out of power for some reason. Again, the Blade of Olympus's powers are very confusing. We're not really sure how it works. I've made a video on it if you want to check it out. But, you know, it's possible we'll see it again. I just don't know. Okay, Malik Campbell asks, do you think Kratos will be able to use Thor's hammer in the future? This is something most fans, I think, want. And therefore, I think Santa Monica is going to make it happen somehow. I don't think it's going to be just like a quick time event where you take the hammer and kill Thor with it. I do think it's going to be a weapon in some sense. Maybe not for Kratos since he has the Leviathan axe, but maybe for Atreus. But I do think it's going to be a weapon that we'll be able to wield as players. Okay, so obviously there's a lot of questions about Kratos' weapons. Casket Filler says, do you think we'll be introduced to new weapons in God of War 5, or do you think it will be weapons from Kratos' past? I don't think we'll see Kratos' weapons from the past come back. Maybe in some form, like someone previously asked, maybe we'll take parts of it and Brock and Scenery will make them into runes or something. It would be really cool, but I don't think we'll see the Nemean Cessus again or the Nemesis Whip, anything like that. It is possible we might see a new weapon. I'm really curious if it can be done to wield Freya's sword that's able to fight by itself. I don't know how that would work in gameplay, but I think it would be really cool. But I honestly don't know if they'll add any more weapons, because they don't want to have a God of War 3 situation where they have way too many weapons and they're very similar to the Blades of Chaos, or sorry, the Blades of Exile. They would want them to be like different, and I think having more than 3 weapons will be too convoluted, I think. But it's possible we might see another weapon. Okay, Dr. Hope says, how come Deimos never had any godly powers? We simply do not know that. We know that he had a glowing birthmark, and that's not human, okay? That doesn't look like any birthmark we could ever have. So I'm guessing he has the potentiality to have powers. He just never actually got them because he was in prison. There is a fan theory going on out there that the gods actually used Deimos to do their bidding, much like they did with Kratos during the 10 years of servitude. It would be cool. That's just a theory, but it is still cool nonetheless. We need confirmation though. So it's possible he had powers, we just never saw him. Alright, so those are all the questions for today, guys. Definitely let me know if you liked this type of content. If you did, let me know so I can make more of this in the future. I can even have John Ford and answer them with me, as that would be very, very fun. But yeah, thank you so much for submitting all of your questions. I hope I was helpful in some way. I tried answering them to the best of my ability, but some things are just theories that are not proven yet, and it would be cool to finally know in the future. So yeah, thanks for watching, and until then, remember, go forth in the name of Ragnarok.